There is a specific kind of shame that does not arrive all at once. It accumulates. In the small moments you replay before you fall asleep. The way you sounded, the look on their face after, the version of yourself you keep catching in the hard moments, withdrawn, irritable, going through the motions, and thinking, this is not who I meant to be. Most parenting content looks at those moments and calls them a problem to fix. This video is going to call them something else, because there are two ways to read the same behavior. One reads it as evidence of character, the other reads it as evidence of conditions. And which reading you choose determines everything, not just how you feel about yourself, but what you actually do next. This video is about 7 things burned out parents do that look, from the outside, like bad parenting, and what they actually are. Before the 7, one thing needs to be said clearly. The behaviors on this list are real. This is not a video that tells you those moments did not happen, or that your children did not experience them. They did. But a behavior and its cause are two different things. And for years, possibly, you have been assigning the wrong cause. Here's what the research on parental burnout consistently shows. Chronic depletion, the kind that builds not from one bad week, but from months or years of running without adequate support, does something specific to the brain. It impairs the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for patience, perspective, impulse regulation, warmth, and the capacity to be the parent you know how to be. This is not a metaphor. It is a documented, measurable effect of sustained stress on neural function. And it means that the parent who withdraws, who snaps, who goes through the motions, is not revealing their character. They are revealing their load. The parent who does none of these things is not a better parent. They are either not yet depleted to this level, or they stopped caring enough to feel the gap. The fact that these behaviors bother you the way they do is not evidence that you are failing. It is evidence that you still have a standard you care about deeply. There is a reason for that. Now, the 7. 1. Emotional withdrawal. You are there. Physically present, responding when spoken to, keeping everything running. But something is not there. The warmth that used to come easily, the delight in the small things, the genuine engagement has gone quiet. You are functional. You are not connected. And you have noticed it, and it frightens you. The shame reading. I am checked out. I am the distracted parent. I am not present for my own children. The depletion reading. Emotional presence requires resources. Warmth is not a value. It is a capacity. And when the nervous system has been in overdrive for long enough, it begins conserving. What you are calling disconnection is your system protecting you from complete collapse. It is not indifference. It is triage. 2. Irritability at small things, not the big things. The small ones. The cup left on the wrong counter. The question asked at the exact wrong moment. The noise, just the noise, that tips something over. And then the look on your face, the sharpness in your voice, and the immediate knowledge that this did not deserve what you just gave it. The shame reading. I am an angry person. I have no patience. Something is wrong with my temper. The depletion reading. Irritability is what happens when the nervous system's tolerance threshold drops to the floor. Under chronic stress, the gap between stimulus and reaction collapses. The cup is not the problem. The cup is the thing that arrived last, after everything else already had. You did not lose it because of the cup. You lost it because you had been holding everything else for 6 hours before the cup showed up. 3. Functional parenting without warmth. Everyone is fed. Everyone is bathed. The homework got done. The logistics of the day were managed. But somewhere in the execution of all of it, the part that used to feel like connection, the ease, the play, the joy in just being with them, did not show up. You kept everyone alive. You did not feel like their parent. You felt like their coordinator. The shame reading. I am going through the motions. My children deserve more than this. I am failing them in the way that will matter most. The depletion reading. Warmth and logistics draw from the same reservoir. When that reservoir is low, the brain prioritizes the non-negotiables: safety, food, structure. What reads as emotional absence is not a withdrawal of love. It is a rationing of available capacity. The love is there. The bandwidth to express it has been spent. By this point, you may have noticed something. Every item on this list, so far, is a behavior the nervous system adopts when it has been running past capacity for too long. Not one of them is evidence of who you are. Every one of them is evidence of what happens when a person with finite resources is asked to give more than those resources can sustain. That distinction matters. Keep it. 4. The screen default. You know what you would rather be doing. You know the research. You know your own values. And you hand over the device anyway. Not from indifference. From nothing left. The shame reading. I am using screens to parent. I am taking the easy way out. I am failing at one of the most basic things. The depletion reading. The screen default is not laziness. It is what happens when the gap between what a child needs and what the parent has available becomes too wide to bridge any other way. It is a pressure valve. The parent who uses it is not prioritizing convenience over connection. They are preventing something worse from happening while they are running on empty. That is not a character failure. That is damage control. 5. Dreading your children. This one is harder to say. The sound of footsteps coming down the hall, a voice calling from the other room, the door opening, and something in you, before you can stop it, braces. Not because you do not love them. That is the part that makes it so unbearable. You love them completely, and you dread the arrival of the next need. And then you spend the rest of the day hating yourself for that 2-second, involuntary response. The shame reading. What kind of parent dreads their own child? This is the thing I will never say out loud because it means something terrible about me. The depletion reading. Dread is what happens when someone who genuinely wants to show up has been asked to show up so many times, without replenishment, without space, without a single moment that belongs only to them, that the self begins to protect against the next demand before it can even arrive. This is not a verdict on how much you love your children. It is a signal of how little has been left for you. You are not someone who dreads their child. You are someone who is profoundly depleted and has nothing left in reserve. Those are not the same thing. 6. Inconsistency. 3 days of doing it right. Patient, present, following through. Feeling, tentatively, like yourself. And then, day 4. Something that has nothing to do with your children sends you sideways, and the version that shows up is the one you were trying to leave behind. And the 3 days feel like they never happened. The shame reading. I cannot maintain this. I make progress and then I undo it. My children cannot trust what they are going to get. The depletion reading. Consistency is a resource. It is not a value you access by deciding to. It is a capacity you have access to when your system has adequate support. Inconsistency is not evidence of weak character. It is evidence of a resource that replenishes too slowly because the demands on it never fully stop. The 3 good days were real. Day 4 was a signal about what sustaining them actually requires. 7. The performance of calm. Nobody sees this one. That is almost the point of it. The smile held in public. The even voice maintained for the sake of the children. The composed face at pickup, at dinner, at bedtime, and then, after the last door closes, the complete collapse of everything that was being held together by will alone. Or worse, not even collapse, just flatness. The performance going so long that you cannot find what is underneath it anymore. The shame reading. I am fake. I am performing a version of myself I do not have access to. I do not know who I am when I am not pretending. The depletion reading. The performance of calm is what happens when someone who has no capacity left knows that the people depending on them cannot afford to see that. It is not dishonesty, it is protection. It is a parent choosing to absorb something rather than direct it at the people they love. The fact that it is unsustainable does not make it a character flaw. It makes it a signal, the clearest one on this entire list, that something underneath needs to be addressed. Here is the objection that may already be forming, even if all of that is true. Even if every one of those behaviors is a symptom and not a verdict. My children are still experiencing them. The reframe does not change what they are living inside. So what does it actually change? This. A thermometer does not cause the fever, it reads it. These behaviors are not the problem. They are what the problem looks like from the outside. And that matters because, for a long time possibly, the intervention you have been applying to this situation is shame. You have been using the weight of how bad you feel to try to generate different behavior. And it has not worked. Not because you are not trying hard enough. Because shame is the wrong tool for this particular repair. You cannot parent your way out of burnout any more than you can run your way out of a broken leg. The effort is real. The intention is real. But the problem was always the wrong diagnosis, not the wrong amount of trying. When the diagnosis shifts, when these behaviors stop reading as character evidence and start reading as depletion signals, something changes in what you do with them. Shame asks, what is wrong with me, and how do I try harder? A correct diagnosis asks, what does this tell me about what I actually need, and how do I get closer to that? That is not a small shift. That is the difference between treating the symptom and treating the condition. The behaviors did not change. Your interpretation of them did, and your interpretation determines your next move. If this video landed somewhere real, if you recognized yourself in more than one of those 7, and you want to understand exactly where you are in the burnout cycle, and what the specific path forward looks like from there, there is a resource in the description built for exactly that moment. The Parental Burnout Assessment walks you through a structured self-evaluation, and the recovery roadmap that follows is calibrated to your actual depletion level, not a generic protocol, but a week-by-week progression that accounts for the fact that you are probably operating without much available bandwidth right now. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment. So, tonight, or tomorrow, or the next time one of those 7 shows up, the question is not, why can I not stop doing this? The question is, what is this telling me? Emotional withdrawal? What does this tell me about how depleted my social and emotional reserves actually are right now? Irritability at small things. What does this tell me about how long I have been holding things without a release valve? Dreading the door opening. What does this tell me about how long it has been since I had a single moment that belonged only to me? Not rhetorical questions, diagnostic ones, the kind that point somewhere instead of just circling. And for the moments that have already happened, the ones you are already replaying, repair is still available. It is always available. A rupture does not become a wound because it happened. It becomes one when it is never acknowledged. The parent who goes back, who names what occurred, who says something true and specific about it, that parent is not undoing the damage. They are teaching their child something no smooth moment ever could, that this relationship is strong enough to hold the hard parts. You may have already had several of those moments this week. That is not nothing. The parent you are in the worst moments is not the parent you are becoming. The parent you are becoming is the one who is still looking for a different version of this. The one who watched a video about burnout at whatever hour this is. The one who recognized themselves in that list and did not stop watching. That parent has not given up. That parent, the one still searching, still fighting for something better, is already the thing you are worried you are not. You just cannot see it yet. If you want to understand exactly where you are in the burnout cycle and what the recovery actually looks like from that specific point, the assessment and roadmap are in the description. That is the next step, if you want it. Which one on this list did you recognize the most? And when was the last time you let yourself call it something other than failure? What I want to leave you with is this. The 7 things on this list are real. They happened. Your children experienced them. None of that is being argued away, but the story you have been telling yourself about what they mean, that story was always the wrong diagnosis. A doctor who mistakes a symptom for a cause does not help the patient get better. They help the patient manage something that was always going to keep returning, because the actual source was never addressed. The shame you have been carrying about these behaviors was not helping you be a better parent. It was keeping you focused on the wrong problem. You are not a bad parent having bad moments. You are a depleted parent whose nervous system is reading its conditions accurately and signaling clearly. The signal is not a verdict. It is information. And information, correctly interpreted, points somewhere. Not who you are, what happens when. And what happens when can change. The parent you pictured, the one you could see clearly before the weight of all of it arrived, that parent is not gone. They are here, waiting. Not at the end of some program or some system or some 30-day commitment. Waiting just on the other side of the conditions finally being addressed. That is not a small thing. That is, in fact, the thing. You stayed.